Hey everyone, GuardianE here with another live reaction and first impression video in Fire Emblem Heroes. Tonight we're getting the reveal of the next set of special seasonal heroes to be introduced into the game. They will be Christmas themed most assuredly, and you can see the silhouettes off to the left hand side. The most I can really glean is that it looks like two dudes. Really could be anybody. But I will make two predictions. One, that we'll be seeing mostly armors on the Christmas banner. And two, we will also be getting a duo unit. So those are my two predictions for what we're going to be seeing for the Christmas season. And let's see if I'm right. Let's get this show on the road. Okay, here we go. I can already see that the banner is called Glorious Gifts. As per usual, I'm going to be looking away when they do the splash with all of the characters, and I will be reverting back and watching the trailer so I can watch them one at a time when they appear. So let's get started. Alright, looking now. Flower of Froth. Oh, is that Nino? Okay, so we're getting a new Nino, and it's an armored Nino. Yeah, she looks armored. Alright. Bold Fighter, Armor March, 10-bit plus. Okay, alright. Pretty standard fare stuff for Nino, as far as the art is concerned. Who's up next? Silver Specter. Wow, we're going to get a Sothis. Okay. So Green Dragon armor, again another armor, so yeah, it seems like that prediction is coming to fruition. She does come with Sirius, Distant Counter Special Fighter. That is that's a decked out kit, at least so far. Alright. And the next is gonna be the two dudes, I guess. So we got Winter's Crown. Zephiel. Oh wow. Was not expecting that at all. Bellringer Plus.
Does this strike your fancy?
Okay, alright. And finally wrapping it up. Okay, we are going to get a duo. Royal Altean duo. The pair of Marth and Sheeta. Art by Mayo. The art looks pretty good, I gotta say. Alright, Daring Fighter. Oh boy. We'll have to see what that's all about. Does look like they have a unique special of Fire Emblem, just like Legendary Marth. Let's see what the duo skill does. They pair up, and what are they gonna do?
Shall we, Marth? I will enjoy this.
I didn't catch what it did. Did it reduce their, I didn't catch what it did. I have to go back and look. I should have looked more carefully. It was a buff of some kind, obviously. I don't know if it reduced their charge time, or... Alright, so let's take a pause here. So it looks like there is a Green Dagger unit, a new free Green Dagger unit that we will be getting. I don't know who that is. I especially don't know because they have a reindeer hat on, so I have absolutely no idea who that is there. I can't really tell. I mean, he's next to Nino, so I could argue Jafar, I guess? And that would make sense, Dagger unit, right? So we could be getting a seasonal free Jafar. Let's keep going. Alright, so special heroes are here starting on the 16th and all the way until, or starting on the 15th, I guess, and then all the way until January 15th, so the entire month, which also means that it is going to overlap with the next seasonal banner that is going to be hitting on January 1st, so the New Year's seasonal banner that will be coming. I suspect there's not going to be anything else in the trailer. No, not at all. Okay. I was taken aback a little bit by the new format of the trailer with the splash that they do and the timing. They've revamped the reveal trailer since we're in book 4, so it doesn't follow exactly the same rules. Alright, so we have all 4 colors represented here. You can just call me Miss Cleo. All armors, basically, and one duo unit. I guess that wasn't too far-fetched of a prediction, but nonetheless, both of those came to fruition, and it's a very odd medley of different characters, I've got to say. The art for them looks pretty good. I would say that Sothis and Marth and Sheeta's are probably my favorites of the banner in terms of their art. So to be completely honest, I'm not in love with armors, and quite frankly, I don't see myself dipping into my orb reserves for any of these characters, but you know what? I don't want to speak too soon. Let's go ahead and take a look at their skills, take a look at what they've got to offer, and we can make a decision at the end here. But let's go ahead and evaluate what they have and are bringing to the table so you can make an informed decision on whether or not you should be pulling on this banner. Yeah, they are mixing it up a little bit, because they do the flash here, but then it transitions quicker into the first character. Like, it transitions right away. So it's a little trickier. But, okay. So we're getting the Flower of Frost, which is Nino trying her best. So let's pause here. I mean, the art looks fine. It's Nino. She's trying her best. It's what we've come to expect, at least as far as the art is concerned. There's nothing mind-blowing here. It's on theme. It's fine. Looks like she is going to be a blue mage armor. So let's keep going and take a look at what skills she has to offer. So, Tanabit Plus, it's a 12 might weapon. When unit deals damage to foe during combat, restores 5 HP to unit. Triggers even if 0 damage is dealt. Okay. Alright, that's interesting. I mean, it has a unique application, certainly. Okay, I mean, that's not a terribly exciting effect. It only has the one effect, and it's, you know, it's about self-sustain. It definitely feels as though Tanabit Plus is intended to be a weapon to be used on Ether Raid defense, for example. If you're using, like, a stalling team that'll sit there and heal up. Similar to Forsyth, because that's really Forsyth's role when he was introduced, was basically just to be able to self-heal, self-sustain, tank hits, and stall out the 7 turns. I feel like the major role that Tanabit Plus is going to have is similar. It's going to be basically for self-sustain. It doesn't matter if she deals damage or not, as long as she stays alive and then, you know, waits out that turn count. Rally Attack Res Plus grants Attack Res plus 6 to target for 1 turn. Attack Speed Form 3 grants Attack Speed plus X to unit during combat, X being 2 times the number of allies within 2 spaces at a max of 7. The form skills are definitely pretty solid A-slot skills, especially for teams that are synergistic, that you want to have relatively close together. It also avoids a lot of the map-wide panic effects that you might see for having adjacent allies, so definitely has its uses, and attack and speed definitely being one of the more coveted of those skills. Bolt Fighter 3 for the B-slot, that skill's never going out of style. Still super, super strong, even 2 years out after it was introduced. Still absolutely a powerhouse of a skill. Armor March 3, okay, so granting her additional mobility, it's definitely a useful utility for an armor unit, although, again, I feel as though the role that she may be having here probably is going to be centered on self-sustain. It doesn't feel as though her weapon really lends itself to the rest of her kit, at least in my approximation and viewing of this. I think that her weapon kind of is pigeonholed to that role of stalling. I think she's probably going to want to swap out that weapon for something that's more offensive, because obviously she has Bolt Fighter and attack speed form. So again, these more player phase oriented skills. So it just seems like it would lend itself more towards an Owl Tome or something else to that effect, even a Blade Tome. So yeah, I mean, it seems like she just has a bunch of different skills that are useful for inheriting purposes, not necessarily synergistic. And again, her weapon, I could see it really being pigeonholed for that specific purpose of stalling. So let's keep going. See what I didn't see what the weapon effect really was. Okay, she drops a Christmas tree. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. Alright, Silver Specter. We got Sothis here. So let's pause here. So she looks really cheerful. It's not something that we really see Sothis very often, as having kind of this very honest, genuine smile, but she does here. And she's like sitting on a big bag of gifts. The art looks great for Sothis. She's a green dragon armor, so let's keep going. Take a look at what she's got. So Snow's Grace is her weapon, and it is unique to her. So this is not going to be inheritable. It is a 16 might weapon. Neutralizes effective against dragon bonuses. So this is going to be a Sothis thing, I guess, is that she just doesn't take effective damage when it comes to dragon effective weapons. Grants speed plus 3. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50%. Grants attack speed defense res plus 5 during combat. Really? And then it has adaptive damage for the final sentence. I mean, those are really strong effects. There's no question about that. Speed plus 3, and I already see that she has Special Fighter 3 for the B slot, so she's going to have pretty decent speed as an armor unit. She doesn't have to worry about dragon effectiveness, which is one of those things that you see a lot of people bash dragon armors for. Dragon armors having dual weaknesses. Basically, they're weak against dragon weapons, and they're weak against armored weapons. So you see a lot of arguments against armored dragons in that capacity. Sothis doesn't have that problem. She's going to have effectiveness against her as an armor unit, but not as a dragon. She'll have speed plus 3. And again, she'll just have plus 5 to all of her stats, which is amazing. I mean, plus 5 to all of her stats, and she's, as an armor, she's going to be stacked for sure, and there's no question about that. And it's an in-combat buff, which again I am a huge advocate of, meaning that those are buffs that can't really be reduced, so or negated in any way. So she's just going to have that stat boost as long as she's above 50%. And that's the health point, the threshold that she wants to be, because that's also where Special Fighter 3 is active. So those two skills synergize with each other in terms of the overall HP goal that she wants to remain at. And of course, both of those synergize with Sirius, because Sirius, her unique special, allows her to heal herself. It boosts damage by 30% of unit speed. Again, synergizing with Snow's Grace, which increases her speed, restores HP by 30% of the damage dealt, so she will be able to have that sustain as well. Distant counter for the A slot is never a bad thing to have for fodder purposes, unique to the unit itself. It's just useful, and it definitely works well with Snow's Grace that doesn't have a built-in distant counter. We talked about Special Fighter 3. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, grant special cooldown charge +1 a unit, and inflicts cooldown charge -1 on foe per attack. So basically negating their ability to gain special charge while increasing her ability to proc Sirius. And Sirius only has a 2-turn cooldown, so she doesn't really need a whole lot of help in that realm anyway. And then her C-slot skill is going to be Threaten Attack Res 3. At start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of a foe, grants attack res +5 to unit for 1 turn, and inflicts attack res -5 on foes within 2 spaces through their next actions. So if you think about it, what that ultimately means is that she gets a 10 stat differential between somebody that she's enemy phasing if they're a magic user or a dragon user, or a dragon weapon user, because she's going to be doing 10 more damage overall and taking 10 less damage overall on enemy phase in those encounters. So yeah, she has a really, really powerful kit, and I would not be surprised if she has extremely high speed, and speed actually may even end up being her preferred boon, her preferred asset, depending on how the rest of the stats line up. So let's keep going. See how Snow's Grace looks as a weapon. Okay, it explodes into presents. Alright. I was expecting something more snow-themed, but that's alright. Alright, so here's kind of the I would say the wild card here that I don't think anybody was expecting. Zephiel. So, let's pause here. It only has 4 skills and has an inheritable weapon. He is an armored sword user, which means that those who want to use or start building Zephiel emblem unfortunately have 2 sword users. So that is an unfortunate thing. I would have liked to see them diversify and mix that up a little bit, but comes with Bellringer Plus, so it's a 14 might weapon, and it looks like, yeah, it is going to have that same effect that Nino had, where basically it's for self-sustain. Anytime the unit deals damage to foe during combat, restores 5 HP to unit. So again, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, as long as the unit doubles, they're basically getting back 5 HP every time, so it's an in-combat heal, which is actually a lot more useful than an out-of-combat or after-combat heal. Because it can actually help to activate certain skill thresholds that are met, that are conditioned upon at the start of a turn or something like that. So it has its uses, again. It's not mind-blowing, but it has its uses. Glacies for the special, 4-turn cooldown, boosts damage by 80% of units res. Vengeful Fighter 3 solidifies Zephiel as an enemy phase unit, as long as the unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, and foe initiates combat. Grant special cooldown charge +1 per unit's attack, and foe makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. And then Defense Res Gap 3. At start of turn, grants Defense Res +5 to ally with the highest Defense plus Res total for 1 turn, excludes unit itself. So that kind of puts him a little bit more in a support role. Again, his skills kind of seem a little piecemeal and all over the place, not necessarily the most synergistic at all. And in some capacity, it almost feels like, well, he's going to be enemy phasing, let's just throw Vengeful Fighter on him. We need to fill in more Gap skills, so let's go ahead and put Gap on him. And then Bellringer Plus is kind of a throwaway, because that's kind of the theme of this banner, are these inheritable weapons that heal during combat. So I'm certainly not blown away by Zephiel's kit. I think a lot of it is probably going to be replaced by people that end up using him. It is interesting to note that he does have Glacies, which seems to imply that he's going to have some pretty hefty res. Let's see if he actually procs that Glacies. He does, which means we can probably calculate here what his res is. So if we take a look right here, Glacies ends up doing about 28 damage, which means it's 80% of his res, which would mean that he probably has around 35 res, which actually isn't as high as I thought that it would be, so I don't know. We'll have to see how the rest of his stats line up and everything like that. 35 is good. It's definitely good. It's not amazing or anything. So we'll have to see kind of what separates Zephiel from the rest of the crowd. I think his art's pretty great, and I like the weapon effect. The weapon itself looks cool. Royal Altean duo, so we are going to have... And I do want to take a closer look at the duo skill, because I completely missed what it did. So they are going to be an armored archer. There actually aren't too many of those in the game, and of course they're also a duo unit, so a lot of unique utility for this pair that we have here. The art is done by Mayo. Looks pretty great. I like it. They're a natural fit together.
Yes. How beautiful.
Okay.
Try not to wear yourself out.
Alright, so let's pause and take a look at what their skills are. Alright, so Tangrisnir is a 14 might weapon. Effective against flying foes, as all bows are. Speed +3. If a bonus granted by a skill like Rally or Hone and or extra movement granted by a skill like Armor March or Armored Boots is active, grants attack speed defense res +3, and special cooldown charge +1 per attack during combat. Interesting. So they have the sort of the fighter charge effect built into their weapon, for one thing. That alone is pretty strong, and it's built in only conditioned upon them having an activated buff. So it's not just an activated stat buff like a Hone or a Rally, or a Wave skill or something like that, where you get the visible blue numbers on their stat line. The condition can also just be met by something as simple as Armor March or Armored Boots, which obviously is a seal that you could just toss on them. Which would, again, it grants them +3 to all of their stats. So it's a flat boost, and then it has this built-in special cooldown charge, which is actually really strong. So definitely a powerful weapon, I would say. I think that the condition is still met even if they're panicked, is my understanding. I'm not 100% positive about that, but I think the way that it works, as long as they have the buff, even if it's reversed, it would still work, right? Maybe somebody in the comments can correct me. But, I mean, it seems as though just the fact that it's a reversed or a debuff shouldn't negate the fact that they were getting the buff to begin with. But again, even if you don't have a Rally or Hone that's active, you can always have Armor March or Armored Boots active. That would also just meet that condition just fine. So it's a relatively easy condition to meet. Unfortunately, if you're relying on Armored Boots, that it does have that 100% health threshold. Fire Emblem for the special, so they also have their own unique special. Well, obviously it's also on Legendary Marth, but it's, again, unique in that it's not inheritable. It's a 2-turn cooldown special, boosts damage by 30% of unit speed, grants attack speed defense res +4 to unit and all allies for 1 turn after combat. Bonus granted to allies even if the unit's HP reaches 0. So Fire Emblem actually does meet their own condition for Tangrisnir after combat. Obviously, it would only come into effect on the enemy phase of that turn, but all the same, there is a little bit of a self-fulfilling condition. Attack speed form 3 grants attack speed +X to unit during combat. X being 2 times the number of allies within 2 spaces +1. Max 7. Attack speed form 3. We just talked about this with Nino, actually. It's a little weird that 2 units in this banner have the same skill, or the same A slot. Usually they try to diversify that a little bit, but not the case here. So they both have attack speed form 3. Has Daring Fighter for the Beastlaw. So this is an all-new, brand-new fighter skill. Yay, more buffs to armors. If unit initiates combat, neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks during combat. If unit's HP is less than or equal to 80% and unit initiates combat, unit can make a follow-up attack before foe can counterattack. Okay, so let's take a closer look at this. If Marth and Sheeta initiate combat, they neutralize any wary fighters-like effects. Any effects that would prevent follow-up attacks at all. And not only that, as long as their health is below... So they'll always be able to double as long as they meet the speed condition. So that's the first thing. There's no HP threshold associated with that. That's just if they initiate. So if they are attacking into somebody else, they will always be able to double as long as they have... Or at least they'll be able to cancel the effects of Wary Fighter or any such effects as long as they have speed. They meet the speed check. However, also, additionally, if the unit's HP is below or equal to 80%, so kind of the brazen range threshold, right? They initiate combat. Unit can make a follow-up attack before the foe can counterattack. So again, it's not forcing the double, but it's a desperation effect. So it's more or less a souped-up desperation effect, because desperation, as it currently is a 75% threshold. So it's a brazen HP threshold for desperation, with also a built-in neutralization for wary fighter or things like that. So pretty darn good. I wouldn't say necessarily that it's as universally stupid as Bold Fighter is and things like that. Daring Fighter definitely, especially is good on a unit like Sheeta and Marth, because Sheeta and Marth have that built-in special charge with their weapon. So again, Daring Fighter, it doesn't have, it doesn't affect your charge at all, which is something that we've come to expect from armors and using their B-slot skills. Marth and Sheeta don't have to worry about that because their weapon does have something like that built in, so they can meet that condition and still get their Fire Emblems to proc, which already has a low cooldown anyway. So yeah, it's a pretty good fit for the unit itself. It's not universally applicable. It's kind of like Special Fighter in that regard, in that it's going to be very, very strong on certain units, I think Marth and Sheeta included, but it's not a universally powerful armor skill. Joint Hone Speed at the start of turn if unit is adjacent to an ally, grants speed +5 to unit and adjacent allies for 1 turn. So we are seeing a lot of speed stacking here, again, to boost that damage of Fire Emblem. So let's take a look at the two of them in action right here. Right.
You are.
Okay, so let's take a closer look at what's happening here. So he's about to use the skill. He already has Fire Emblem charged. The area of effect is within 2 rows of him, centered on him, I guess, or them.
Over here.
And let's see exactly what it does. Let's see if we can pause at the time of effect. So it didn't do anything to the cooldowns. Alright, so it didn't do anything to the cooldowns. It only affected armors and flyers, or it only affected melee units, but they're not a melee unit. So it affects maybe themselves and melee units? That's a little unclear. So either it ignores infantry, which is a possibility, or it only applies to melee units and self. But let's see what it actually did. So I see the arrows. So it looks like it gave them all a stat boost, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at what their stats were prior to the activation. Yes, it does look like it did. So they went from 50 to 53, 47, oops, 44 to 40. So it was +3 to all stats, is that right? Anything else? Any other effects? All right, I mean, as far as I can tell, that's it. So he basically grants an activated buff of +3 to all stats.
I will enjoy this.
Okay.
From the two of us.
Yeah, calculating his speed from here is going to be a little bit difficult. All right, so 65 minus 47, that's 18. So Fire Emblem did 18 damage, so that's 30% of the speed. The calculated speed would then be about 60 speed. So if we take into account all of the stat buffs and everything else that he has, obviously he just got the +3 from activating the duo skill, right? And then in addition to the +3, he also has an additional 3 from Tangrisnir, inherently. That's 6. Then gets +3 for being in that threshold, so that's 9. Then he has 3 allies near him, so 3 times 6, so that's another 6, right? So that's a total of +15 speed. So we're looking at 15 plus 15 speed, so that's 45 speed. Is that accurate? Maybe I'm missing something, but at least, yeah, I mean, who am I kidding? I'm probably missing something. So you guys can help correct me, but I mean, my rudimentary calculations shows a native speed of 45, which seems not correct. But I guess we'll see. Regardless, he seems to have really high speed. Obviously, a lot of the skills are tailored towards building up their speed. So Marth and Sheeta are definitely going to be a speedy unit. Whether or not they have, 45 speed is another thing. I'm probably just forgetting a component to this. So Paralogue Story, Glorious Gifts. And again, it looks like we may be getting a seasonal Jafar, I guess, for free, which would be nice, I guess. So yeah, so Special Heroes are here once again, starting on the 15th all the way until the 15th, so 15th of December all the way to the 15th of January. Certainly the prizes of this banner are going to be the duo unit of Marth and Sheeta, as well as I think Sothis is probably right after. It's important to note that duo units are effectively limited in nature. Of course, all seasonal units are limited in nature, although we did just get that really weird giant batch of seasonal banner that dropped a couple of days ago. I think just because they're so backlogged in adding seasonals into legendary and mythic hero banners, so they're trying their best to supplement that. But again, duo units seem to be in kind of their own special category. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a duo banner at some point in the future, but at least in the interim, it does not appear as though we'll have many avenues to get these duo units once they leave. But I am certain that we'll see them again. It's just it may be a while before that happens. So bear that in mind if Marth and Sheeta are going to be a target for you. For me personally, like I said before, I'm not terribly in love with armors. And quite frankly, you know, these characters I can kind of take or leave, so I don't think I'm going to be going in on this banner. I'm eager to see what the next banner is going to be with the next legendary hero. I'm eager to see what the next seasonal New Year's are going to bring, so there's a lot more on the horizon that are kind of interesting to me. For my purposes, probably in the initial circle, I'll just pull on colorless and green for a chance at Marth and Sheeta as well as Sothis. But beyond that, I don't think I'm really going to be diving in otherwise. So let me know in the comments below if you guys are excited for this banner, and if you are, which target you're going to be going for. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you end up getting whoever it is that you want, along with all of the merges that you want. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please feel free to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. We thank you all so much for watching and taking time out of your day to spend with us. We really, really do appreciate it. And until next time, let's protect those skies.